Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're doing a massive deep dive into the concentric circles of mystery. We're going to explore the absolute most fascinating, unanswered questions out there, based on some incredible topics from the Whatley YouTube channel. We'll be looking at human evolution, our psychology, the universe, and some incredibly strange biological phenomena. You know, our world is packed with everyday things we just take for granted, but when you actually stop and look a little closer, they are literally baffling. Let's jump right in.
So, let's start with the ultimate question of human existence, right? Out of the millions of living things on this planet, why on Earth did only we evolve into intelligent beings? I mean, think about it. Earth is absolutely teeming with millions of species, yet here we are, the sole conscious observers questioning our own bizarre reality. Well, the secret likely comes down to the rapid expansion of our prefrontal cortex. That, combined with a sudden cognitive revolution around 70,000 years ago, was a total game changer. This leap allowed us to communicate complex, abstract ideas and team up in massive numbers, while the rest of the animal kingdom was pretty much locked in the present moment.
Okay, Circle 1, the secrets of our ancient ancestors. Let's look back. Now, here's a wild thought. We weren't always alone. We aren't just this perfectly planned, inevitable pinnacle of evolution. Actually, we're more like the solitary, lucky survivors of a very crowded family tree. Homo Sapiens used to share the planet with Neanderthals, Denisovans, and several other human species. But they all just vanished. And it wasn't some single, sudden asteroid-level extinction event either. Prevailing theories point to a messy mix of intense resource competition, rapid climate shifts, and, yes, interbreeding, which is exactly why a lot of us still carry a small percentage of Neanderthal DNA today. It's crazy, but we are quite literally the very last humans on Earth.
In looking at the milestones of our early survival, it reveals some absolutely incredible ingenuity. Take clothing, for example. How do we know when we started wearing it? By analyzing the genetic divergence of lice DNA. No way, right? Scientists estimate we started wearing animal skins roughly 170,000 years ago just to survive the ice ages. And then there's alcohol. Long before agriculture was even a thing, our ancestors likely just stumbled upon fermenting fruit on the forest floor. It's this concept called the drunken monkey hypothesis, and it basically gave us this strange evolutionary knack for metabolizing ethanol millions of years ago.
But you know, while they were mastering these early milestones, ancient humans also face some incredibly brutal realities. Just pause for a second and imagine the absolute sheer agony of an ancient toothache without modern dentistry. Ouch. But they didn't just suffer through it in the dark. Archaeological finds show they used incredibly clever, rudimentary medicine. We've actually dug up 6,500-year-old teeth with beeswax fillings used to soothe exposed nerves. Plus, there is strong evidence that ancient humans chewed on willow bark to numb the pain. And get this, willow bark naturally contains the exact same active ingredient found in modern aspirin. Moving right along to Circle 2, our bizarre biological quirks. Let's zoom in on the strange anomalies of the physical vessels we're walking around in today.
So, our modern bodies are basically walking museums. They're full of evolutionary adaptations that were shaped by very distinct environments. As early humans spread out across the globe, survival meant adapting to wildly different climates. For instance, varying levels of UV radiation literally dictated the evolution of melanin production. That was to protect our folate levels, which resulted in the absolutely beautiful, diverse spectrum of human skin colors we see today. Similarly, different hair types and unique nose shapes evolved as these highly efficient biological filters. They adapted specifically to warm up freezing air or humidify dry air before it ever even reached our lungs.
But okay, some traits are far more perplexing, like, how did humans start going bald? Seriously, if hair evolved specifically to protect our scalps from the brutal sun and regulate our body temperature, losing it seems entirely counterintuitive, right? Well, evolutionary biologists suspect male pattern baldness might actually be a weird byproduct of natural selection. It's tied to high levels of certain hormones like DHT, and researchers think it might have evolved as a visual signal of maturity and social dominance, even if it meant leaving the poor scalp totally vulnerable to sunburn.
Now for Circle 3, the enigma of the mind. Let's explore the mysterious, sometimes spooky machinery operating inside our own skulls.
Think about your own transition to sleep tonight. Have you ever wondered why we never remember the exact moment we fall asleep? One second you're awake, stressing about your day, and the very next thing you know, hours have passed. Well, this eerie gap in our daily consciousness happens because of exactly how our brain powers down. The hippocampus, which is your brain's primary memory center, actually falls asleep slightly before the rest of your cortex.
So without it actively recording those short-term memories, that final transition into slumber just becomes a permanent biological blind spot. Poof, gone.
Now, during normal, unconscious dreaming, your brain basically creates a chaotic movie that you just passively watch. But what happens when you break the rules? What happens when you suddenly realize you're dreaming while you're still in the dream? You know, a lucid dream. Neurologically speaking, it is completely fascinating. Brain scans show that during a lucid dream, the prefrontal cortex, that's the area responsible for logic, decision-making, and self-awareness, which is normally totally dormant during sleep, well, it suddenly fires right back up. You literally regain conscious control of your mind, all while your physical body remains completely paralyzed in REM sleep. Wild, right?
And all this talk about our minds naturally brings up a pretty profound question about consciousness itself. Do the animals roaming alongside us actually know that they exist? Scientists love to test this using something called the mirror mark test. They place a visible mark on an animal's face and just put them in front of a mirror. While a dog or a cat will typically ignore it, or maybe think it's another animal entirely and bark at it, creatures like chimpanzees, dolphins, elephants, and even some birds, they'll use the mirror to actively examine the mark on their own bodies. That proves a definite measurable level of self-recognition.
Finally, Circle 4, life beyond the human experience. We're zooming all the way out and looking to the stars.
So if you ever want to build a civilization on Mars, we are facing some monumental, completely bizarre hurdles. The biggest one, the total lack of breathable oxygen. But don't worry, scientists already have some concrete, ingenious solutions in the works. Right now, we're testing devices like MOXIE. This machine literally sucks in the thin, carbon dioxide-rich Martian atmosphere and physically splits the molecules to produce pure oxygen. Long-term, bioengineers are even proposing seeding the whole planet with genetically modified cyanobacteria to slowly terraform the environment, which is actually exactly what early organisms did for a young Earth.
And then we face the ultimate cosmic boundary, the very edge of the universe. What exactly exists completely outside our reality? Well, in astrophysics, we define this largely by the observable universe. That's the absolute limit of light that has had enough time to reach us since the Big Bang. But beyond that boundary, theories of cosmic inflation suggest space might just keep going infinitely. Or maybe we exist within a localized pocket of a massive, ever-expanding multiverse. It's a concept that our human brains are barely mathematically equipped to even comprehend.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, we are left staring right back at the core mystery of identity itself. If your brain was completely removed and placed into a brand new synthetic body, would you still be you? It's the ultimate biological ship of Theseus paradox. After journeying through our ancient evolution, our physical quirks, the hidden depths of our minds, and the absolute edge of the cosmos, what exactly makes you, you? Definitely think about that tonight, right before your hippocampus powers down and you slip into that sleep you won't remember.